Hey guys, welcome back to 1D Meta. Hey, do me a favor, throw on some shoes and let's get out and walk and talk while I go through this. I'm going to talk about three things that you need to consider. Like, really think about and probably even write down if you're somebody who's trying to make some changes, some functional changes in your life to maybe help lose weight, lower your blood sugar, maybe reverse your type 2. Um, these are things that you have to consider if you want to set yourself up for success. And the first thing I want you to think about is your personal motivation. In other words, what's your why? And you need to actually think about that clearly, identify it, and write it down. It might be that you're just tired of being on medication, and you don't want to do that the rest of your life. It might be you're thinking in the future and you want to be around to be with your spouse, or you want to be able to enjoy your grandkids. All those are good reasons, and they're things to put in front of you. Write down and make them a point and a part of your motivation. But you need to actually identify those things and think about them clearly. And as you do that, you need to recognize that there are going to be other voices in your head that are going to be talking to you, telling you can't do it, or telling you to do things that you shouldn't do in order to hit those goals. So you might even think about some of those and write those down too. Like, what are the things that trip you up? What are the things that make you feel like you can't do what you're wanting to do? The second thing that you need to be aware of is there are going to be social factors. Okay, so social factors are going to play a huge role in whether you succeed or fail in doing this. So, example, this is a classic example. Alcoholic shouldn't be hanging out with people who drink, right? If they're trying to quit, then that's probably the wrong crowd. So you have to recognize that social situations are going to challenge your goals. So for people trying to eat well, that ends up being holidays, inevitably, right? Those are terrible times to try to follow eating. Special events, family occasions, those kind of things. For some people, it could even just be family meals, because if other people in your family aren't on board and trying to help you, that can be a challenge. So having support with those social factors is a huge thing that you need to consider. And so you may even write down, again, what are those challenges that you might currently face in those social situations, and how can you help mitigate some of those? Maybe talk to people, get some encouragement. Workplace can be hard too. Man, I used to work at this place where they had a counter in the break room where every day somebody would bring something horrible to eat and lay it out, and they called it the bird feeder. And as soon as the email went out, within minutes, there was a swarm of people in there just pounding, whatever it was, cake, donuts, cupcakes, you name it. That can be a horrible temptation. So your coworkers in that environment can sometimes be a hindrance and not a help. You just have to be aware of that. The third factor, and this is a huge one, because it's easy to miss, but it's so pragmatic. And for me, as a type 1, when I first got diagnosed, it was one of the keys to me setting up successful habits. And this is structural. I actually went so far as to separate the food that I needed to eat from the rest of the food in my house, and created like my own little pantry, my own little kitchen area in the basement where I would prepare the things that I knew I could eat that weren't going to mess with my blood sugar. And I set myself up structurally to be able to succeed with the strategy I had to get my blood sugars under control. So for you, that might be as simple as go into your pantry, take a look, go through it, and get rid of the stuff that you shouldn't be eating and quit buying it. So number one, if you're going to eat well, you have to have the right food around to be able to eat well. So replace the bad food that you have in your house with foods that you know that you can have. That's number one. You have to recognize that other structural challenges that you're going to run into are things like maybe you travel. If you travel, it can feel like all bets are off and you can throw it out the window and just do whatever. That's not a good strategy. Plan ahead. Think, where am I going to be? Are there places that I can eat, for example, that have things on the menu that are in my zone? Healthy choices, right? Sometimes I pack food. I've had situations where I got stuck on a plane, on a runway for hours and hours and hours. My blood sugar's starting to drop, and the attendant's like, here, let me give you a bunch of fruit juice or candy or whatever. I don't want to do that, right? So I planned ahead and I packed things in my bag that weren't really high carb, healthier, wouldn't spike my blood sugar, but would help me keep from going too low. But I had to be intentional about that and think ahead and prepare with things that I knew that I could eat. So structural is huge, and it's one that's so easy to miss, and it seems like the one that a lot of people trip up over because they don't think ahead, they don't plan, or they just don't do anything intentional, especially in their own homes. If you don't start there, you can bet that you're not going to succeed outside your home either. So, these are things that you need to think about, and you need to write out, identify, and sometimes it helps to understand your own currency, what makes you tick. So, for example, you maybe want to go out there online and find the Big Five personality test. Take that, learn a little bit about what makes you tick, what your currency is, what motivates you, and factor that into your plan as well. But those three things are key, right? So your internal motivations, your why, and the things that'll challenge your why, your social motivation and your social barriers, and then your structural motivation and barriers. You have a lot of control over all those things, and if you take control of them, you can help set yourself up to succeed. Good luck, guys. Let me know if you have questions.